Hey besties, welcome back to my channel and welcome back for a brand new video. This video's been, actually I say a long time coming, it's not really been that long. I'm only 11 days postpartum today, so I'm actually filming this pretty quick. I've wanted to film this for the past few days, but we've just had a lot going on, you know, newborn life and everything. But I've got to spare a little bit of time between visitors today, so I thought I would sit down and film my birth story for you guys. I did do a Q&A on my Instagram last night and answered a lot of questions on there, and I'm going to do a little Q&A at the end of this video. And I'm also going to film a separate video all about my recovery, because I've had so many questions about my recovery, which can I just say has been amazing, but I will touch on that in a whole nother video because I feel like that's a whole nother story. Oh, is he waking up? This video is just going to be my birth story, my labour story, how it went, what happened after. So yeah, grab yourself a drink. It's not going to be a long one. Well, it might be a long one because I do waffle and I go on a lot. But my birth was pretty straightforward. Yeah, I'm really excited to talk you guys through it. So if you didn't already know, I had booked in for an elective C-section. So if we start from the start, I had already kind of decided that I wanted a C-section before I was ever even pregnant. For me personally, it was just something that I wanted to do. I have spoken about it a couple of times on social media before I obviously had Bobby, but I was just scared of labour, and everyone says it's the most natural thing in the world and it's the most amazing thing in the world, and you know what? I'm sure vaginal childbirth is incredible, but for me personally it just wasn't something that I felt I could do. So I had a elective C-section planned, so I have a lot of questions about how I asked for it and stuff like that. Literally, I went into one of my midwife appointments. I was very lucky that I had the same midwife the entire way through my journey, and I know not a lot of people have that, so I was first of all very, very lucky and grateful for that. But I basically just said to her that I was really nervous about labouring and giving birth, and she basically just suggested have a C-section, and it was literally as simple as that. And so I said, okay, let's do it. Obviously we talked through the risks, we talked through the pros. I had a consultation with a doctor. I had a consultation with something called Birth Choices, where they literally just go through all of the risks and stuff like that. Obviously there's risks with both C-sections and vaginal births. And I just want to say, don't let anybody make you feel like you're doing the wrong thing. Whatever you think is right for you, whatever you want to do, it is your body. Let me just grab the babe. Here he is, my little love. You're getting hungry, it is bottle time. Just wait 20 minutes. Yeah, good boy. It's your body, it is your choice, and that is that. There's no right or wrong answer. He's going to start wiggling, he might have to get his dad. It is literally whatever you want to do for your personal choice, and don't let anybody make you feel like you're making the wrong decision. I had a lot of people try and talk me out of it. I had a lot of people questioning why I wanted a C-section. I felt really under pressure to talk about it, and when people would ask me, I'd panic. I'd be like, oh my god, like it would be such a topic of conversation that I really wanted to avoid. And then it got to the point where I thought, this is my body, this is nobody else's choice but mine, and this is what I want to do, so I'm gonna do it. And it was the best decision that I could have possibly made. So yeah, if you want a C-section, there is nothing wrong with that, and do not let anybody make you feel like you're like copping out of giving birth. It's not the easy way out. Although recovery and everything for me has been incredible, it is definitely not the easy way out. Like, you're having major surgery, like it's not something that people need to judge you about. Like, you do what you want to do. Sorry, he's making a lot of noise. He's getting hungry. So yeah, anyway, that's how I came around having my C-section. So what happened was, my C-section was booked in on the 29th of January, which was his actual due date. So I would have been 40 weeks on the 29th of Jan, and that was when he was due to come out the sunroof. And then I had a call the week before on the Monday to say that they've moved my C-section date to the following Monday, which was the 27th. And to me that didn't matter. I was like, yep, he's coming out at some point anyway, the date doesn't really matter to me. Monday's better in terms of Tom's work, like it worked out well. So it was Monday the 27th, that was my C-section date. But on Friday the 24th at around 3 AM I woke up to go to the toilet. When you're pregnant you have to go to the toilet so many times in the night, and at 3 o'clock I went for one of my wees, and when I woke up I stood up and my knickers were just, sorry if this could potentially be TMI by the way, if you're not into TMI feminine topics, maybe switch off. There's going to be a lot of talk about bits and bobs and all sorts. Yeah, so Friday the 24th at 3 AM I got to go to the toilet and my knickers were soaked, like not soaked as in like drenched, but like it felt like I'd wet myself. I didn't even say anything to Tom though, I just went for a wee and then came back to bed. And then at 7 AM I went for my next wee and it had happened again. Well no, I was in bed. I rolled over in bed and I felt like almost like I'd wet myself. So I woke Tom up and I said, Tom, I think my water's broke. I'm like, what's going on? Didn't panic, just thought it could be anything. And then I phoned the hospital just to let them know, and that is shown in my labour vlog, which I did vlog. If you want to check that out before you watch this video, come back to this. So yeah, I phoned up the hospital and they said to come in, so we went in at about 10 AM I think, and they did a couple of checks on me and they said no, that's not your waters, it could just be a little leak, it could be this, it could be that, but from what they could feel it wasn't my waters. Now I'm not convinced it wasn't my well, it must have been my waters because I went into labour the next day, but whatever it was, God knows, it sent me into labour. So obviously I came home and we just chilled for the rest of the day, didn't do anything, didn't really think about it, just kind of tried to get on with my day. And then Saturday I woke up in the morning and I had some really strong pains in my stomach, and everyone had always said to me, you'll know when it's contractions, like you'll just know, because I was obviously terrified of going into labour, hence the C-section. But everyone said to me like, you'll know when it's a contraction, and I had never felt anything like this before. It was intense but not as intense as it got towards the end. So I woke Tom up and I said, Tom, I'm having contractions, like this is 100% a contraction, and considering my waters had broke the day before, I just knew something was happening to my body. I think I had 2 contractions that morning. I wrote them down, let me check. I started recording them down straight away. 7:30, 8:06 and 9:45 on the 25th of January. I had those 3. And then for the rest of the day I had my pre-op appointment with the hospital on the Monday, so I went over to my hospital, didn't even mention it to them, told them that I thought my waters had broke the day before, but obviously I'd been checked. She did my blood test, she spoke me through the operation, I was very chilled. Me and Tom did a Tesco click and collect, I went and saw my sister, it was my nephew's birthday, like everything was very chilled. And apart from those 3 contractions, for the rest of the day I didn't feel anything until the evening. I got into the bath, and when I was in the bath I had a really intense pain, a lot stronger than the ones that I'd had that morning. And I got out the bath, Tom's dad came round and we were sat on the sofa, and I was having a contraction on the sofa, and I was saying to Tom's dad, this is the pain again, like this is happening. He was out here, he was like, see you later, like it's happening, you get to bed. So he left, and that was at, I wrote that one down as well, 7:48. But obviously because they told me that my waters hadn't broke, I didn't think it was labour, I just thought I was having random contractions. So I just tried to like breathe through them, like Braxton Hicks type things, like I just was ignoring them basically. Went to bed, and then at about 11 PM I think they really started to kick in. At this point I downloaded the contraction timer app because they were getting really intense. They started at, oh no, they were pretty intense. So I had one at 8:15, 9:10, 9:30 at 10, 10:15, 11:20, 11:45. They were just going on and on and on. I could not get to sleep, like I could not sleep through them, and I kind of told myself if I can't sleep through the pain, it's contractions. So yeah, from about 8 PM they were coming like quite fast. I phoned the hospital and they said they were still too far apart, like it's not labour, like just keep trying to sleep, just ignore them, have some painkillers basically. But the problem with this was that I was absolutely petrified of being in labour and not having my C-section. So I really just wanted someone to check me, but they were very, very convinced it was not labour. And because my C-section was booked in, they don't like doing C-sections overnight apparently, so to just stay at home and try and get through it, which was fine. I was happy to do that, but I really did not want him to come out. Anyway, it got to about 2 AM and I was just exhausted from the pain, so I got in the bath. And obviously with a C-section you're not supposed to eat before the section, so me and Tom were like trying to make a plan. I was like, let's just have something to eat now, get in the bath, either go back to sleep, or if it gets really bad then we'll go into hospital. So I had a bagel whilst I was in the bath, Tom had a coffee, and we just sat in the bathroom for about half an hour. And then at this point the pains were so bad, like so bad. I've never felt anything like it in my life. And I was so proud of myself for getting through it as well, because the labour was the part that I didn't want to do, and I laboured. Like, I literally laboured until I physically couldn't labour anymore because he was coming out. So we phoned the hospital. I think it was about 3 AM we phoned the hospital, and they were like, yeah, come in, like blah blah blah. So I went in, they checked me over, said I wasn't in labour, that they weren't contractions. They put me on the monitor and they were like, no. They said I think they said I was having mild contractions, but I wasn't in established labour, and I still had a long way to go. So she said they don't like doing the C-sections overnight, so I can either stay in hospital and just wait and see what happens, or go home and get some rest. So at this point I knew they weren't going to give me the C-section there and then, and I'm more comfortable at home. So we came home, they gave me a codeine and they gave me a hot water bottle and sent me on my way basically. So we came home, got into bed at about 6 AM, and then 9 AM I woke up and the contractions were contractioning, let me tell you right now. I just had this overwhelming feeling like he is coming. Like, this is obviously it's very normal, but what I mean is like this isn't normal in terms of I'm not in labour, like I'm definitely in labour. And this was Sunday morning, so the day before my C-section. So at this point I was like, I've only got 24 hours left. Like, even if I have to go through this pain for 24 hours, like I can do this. Like, whatever I need to do, I can do it. I just do not want to squeeze him out. Like, I really just do not want to do it vaginally. Like, that was just my one wish the whole pregnancy, and I started freaking out. Like, I managed to calm myself, and at this point I was exhausted though, and I was so tired of having to say the same thing to the doctors over and over again, and like them tell me, no, you're not in labour and blah blah. So we went back in at 10 and we sat there for a little while, got hooked up on the monitor, and they were still like, no, you're not really in labour, like still got a long way to go. But no one had actually checked up, you know, no one had seen how far dilated I was. So I was just lying in the hospital room for quite some time, and then we had one really lovely lady who managed to get a consultant to come in and speak to us, like a doctor, to discuss our options. This wasn't, we still didn't think I was in labour at this point. Well, I did, but the doctors didn't. She came in and we spoke about my options. I could have either gone home and waited for my C-section on Monday, I could have stayed in hospital and laboured, or she would go and consult another doctor, like surgeon, to see if they could put me in for the C-section that day. Obviously that was my wish, like I wanted to be in for the C-section that day. She said it can take a couple of hours to obviously get to speak to the doctor and make the decision and stuff. So she said, just sit here and blah blah blah. And then she actually asked to feel my stomach. She said, when you have a contraction, she said, I'm going to sit and feel your stomach for 15 minutes so I can feel when you're having a contraction. So I was like, yeah, great. So I lied on the bed and had a contraction, and she said, no, that is the mildest contraction ever, like you are not in labour, like it's not happening basically. But she was still happy to go and speak to someone, and she also tried to, like, she wasn't trying to talk me out of the C-section, but this is the first person that has actually like said, like, are you really sure you want to do this, like it's not the easy way out, blah 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 blah. As everybody else just said, go for it. So then I was thinking, like, I'm literally about to have a C-section and you're trying to talk me out of it, like this is not ideal. So at this point I was still really calm, but like everything was just going around my head, and I was thinking, like, what is the right decision to, like, everyone, I don't know, it was just a lot. Until then she decided to actually check me, and at this point it was like 1:30, I think, in the afternoon, and finally somebody was checking me, and she literally did the check, which, can I just say, is agony. The check was more painful than any contraction. My whole C-section, my recovery, the initial check, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I was screaming, like actually screaming. But she looked at me and she said, honey, what's happening with your contractions? She said, where are your contractions? He's coming out. I said, I've been telling you I'm having contractions, but no one could feel them, no one could monitor them. Like, they must have just been so internal that no one could see them, no one could feel them, no one could monitor them, but they were there. They were definitely there, and he was coming out. She said, I don't have time to consult another doctor. You're not going home. Go get your bags out of the car. He is on his way out. So at this point I started freaking. I was thinking, oh my god, I'm about to have my baby. Like, what the hell? But I thought we'd have a couple of hours. I didn't realise it was going to be like a major quick turnaround. So yeah, at this point it was like 1:45. Then about 6 different people came into the room. I had the anaesthetist in there, I had the midwife in there, I had the consultant lady in there. Honestly, there was just people coming in and out, people giving us the gowns, people giving us Tom his scrubs. It was just like, whoa, what is going on? So at this point I didn't black out, but like luckily I took so many photos that I can remember everything. Otherwise I think I would have just forgotten everything that had happened. I had cannulas being put into every single hand. I had all sorts going on. I had the lady talking me through what was going to happen next, whilst the midwife was trying to explain this and that, and the anaesthetist was behind me saying, you're going to have the spinal, this is what can happen, blah blah blah. I had to sign this form to say like I'm having an emergency C-section. So yeah, although I had an elective booked in, because it happened before my elective date and I went into labour, it was classed as an emergency C-section, but by my choice, if you know what I mean, because I could have laboured and had him vaginally, but I chose to have the emergency section. And then we went into theatre at about 2:30, I'd say. Let me find the pictures. Like things were just being thrown at us, like put this on, put that on, do this, do that. So we were putting our scrubs on at, let me find, 1:35 is when she told me that he was coming. So that's when we started panicking. I was crying my eyes out. I was like, oh my god, this is so scary, what the hell is going on? Then 2:15 we had all of our things on ready to go, and we were just sat in the room waiting. And then we went into the theatre room and everyone was explaining everything to me. There was people coming in and out. I can't remember how many surgeons there were, but there was a lot of people in the room. I had one man just standing next to me, just monitoring, I think. I had the midwife behind me who was lovely. I had the anaesthetist sat behind me. I had the consultant in there, she did the C-section. Then I think I had like 6 surgeons maybe. There was definitely another man in there. Definitely remember seeing 3 other ladies. There was a lot of people in the room, basically, a lot of people in the room. And it was just the most calm, relaxed environment and experience I've ever had. It was nothing like I imagined. It was so chilled out and just incredible. Like I would literally do it in a heartbeat. Like it was, unless you're there, I just don't think like you can really understand like how calming it really was. I knew I needed to be calm anyway because he was coming out, and I thought the more I stress, like the worse this is going to be. Like I need to stay calm. Tom was sobbing his little heart out, bless him, and I knew I needed to be strong for that because I'm a very emotional person, and just looking at him crying made me cry. But obviously I had to have the spinal and stuff, and you have to sit so still for that. So I had to kind of just pretend he wasn't in the room and just let him have his emotional time on his own with the midwife, because I just thought, if I look at you, this is going to go terribly wrong. So I had to just, honestly, I've never been so calm in my life. Like I really surprised myself. Like I'm so proud of myself, and like I said, C-sections are not the easy way out. And although I would have been proud of myself for doing it vaginally, I am so proud of myself for how calm and relaxed I stayed. Like there was major surgery and I was just so zen, like so zen. The people around me definitely helped that, like the environment that I was in. But they sat me on the bed. So if you've never seen a C-section happen, or if you've never heard about a C-section, you basically sit on the bed, they make it go really high, and the anaesthetist does the spinal in your back, and you have to let yourself go so floppy, like as floppy as you possibly can, hugging a pillow. They say to like go like a rag doll, like just make yourself flop as much as you can. The more floppy you are, the easier the spinal's going to be. And for me, I didn't feel a thing. It was absolutely fine. She said I took it like a trooper. I didn't even flinch. And I think that's why it worked so well for me. Like I could not feel a thing. Like it worked incredibly well and incredibly fast. She said once she puts this in, you've got 3 seconds to swing your legs up onto that bed before you start getting like a overwhelming feeling of like heat in your legs. And then before you know it, they're going to be numb. So I was like, okay. So she did the spinal and she was like 3, 2, 1. So I flung my legs up, and I'm not joking, the second my legs hit that bed, they went so warm, and I'd say within 2 minutes I was completely numb. They sprayed some like cold spray on my body, so they started at my feet, and then I had to tell her when I could feel it. She got to like up to my boobs and I could just about feel it. So I was numb up until here. It was the strangest feeling ever. They literally kept saying to me like, right, we're going to put your legs back down now. I didn't even know my legs were in the air. Like I literally didn't even know my legs were in the air, and obviously I couldn't see anything because I had the screen up. You also get the option to have the screen down if you want to see what's going on, but I just thought, you do you. You stay over there and do you. I'm just going to lie here and relax. So me and Tom both agreed that we'd have the blue screen up. But yeah, everything went completely numb, so I was just lying there. And then at this point, the next 5 minutes were just a little bit blurry for me. I went really like odd, and this was probably the worst part for me, and even this wasn't even that bad, but like out of the whole experience, this was the worst part. I went really lightheaded and my blood pressure just completely dropped. Obviously everybody in there knows exactly what they're doing, and I was so completely out of it at this point. Like, I don't even really remember. I just remember them pumping loads of stuff into my hands. I think it was anti-sickness. I remember saying like, oh, I've gone really dizzy, oh, I feel really sick, oh, I feel really faint. And within a couple of minutes I had an oxygen mask on my face, things pumped into my hand, and then I just came back around. I couldn't hear anything. The sound went really weird. Like, everything just went very strange. It almost felt, I fainted at school one time, and it felt just like that. Like, that's exactly how it felt. I couldn't open my eyes, and they're like, can you just keep your eyes open? So I was trying really hard to keep my eyes open, but within a couple of minutes I was completely back to normal. Well, I wasn't, I couldn't feel anything, but obviously like my brain and my head, and I was back in the room basically. Like, I'd come back to life. Oxygen mask was off, my blood pressure had gone back up, my heart rate was fine, and honestly you have people constantly checking you, so like I just knew I was in safe hands. Like, I still didn't panic. I just was like, what's going on? But like, I was fine. And then at this point Tom was allowed to come and sit right next to me, and again the anaesthetist was behind me the entire time, making sure I was okay. She kept asking me questions to keep me, like, you know, keep going. I think they try and do it to distract you, but just to make sure that you're still like in the room and that nothing's like going on. So we were just chatting the whole time. Then they're like, what music do you want on? And me and Tom hadn't even spoken about this. I didn't even know you could have music on. So we were like, oh, let's just have Ed Sheeran. We love a bit of Ed Sheeran, so let's put Ed Sheeran on. And it was just the best. Like, we couldn't have had a better choice. Everyone in the room, this is how chilled it was. They were all arguing about whose Spotify they're playing it on. Like, they're operating on me. I'm about to give birth to this child, and every single person in that room was arguing about who's got Spotify Premium and who's going to have adverts and who's got battery on their phone and all of this. And I'm thinking, I'm about to be cut open. Like, why is everyone so relaxed? Like, what is going on? But honestly, it could not have gone better. So yeah, we put the music on, had a bit of Ed Sheeran on. They were still just asking me questions, just making sure I was okay. And then TMI, I'm going to start talking about the actual surgery now. They put knife to skin at 2:53, I think it was, or 2:52. I think it was 2:52 or 2:53. I'm pretty sure. Also, at this point they'd fitted a catheter, and I've had a lot of questions about the catheter and how painful it was. Guys, I didn't even feel it. I didn't even know they'd done it. And they also put pain relief up my bum. And I didn't feel that. I didn't even know they'd done that. I think they'd asked me, but because I was still a bit like, I was like, do whatever you need to do, like, just do it. Didn't feel anything. I did not even know the catheter was in, so do not worry about that. It's not painful at all. Even once my pain relief had worn off and I was walking around with the catheter, absolutely fine. Like, honestly, I was dreading that, and it was so fine. So yeah, they put knife to skin at 2:52 or 2:53, I can't actually remember, and he was born at 2:58. So it literally took them 5 or 6 minutes for him to get out. We listened to Perfect by Ed Sheeran and Photograph by Ed Sheeran, and at that point he was out. They pulled the curtain down, lifted him up. Me and Tom both sobbed our little hearts out, and he was born. But of course, because it's a C-section, it's a sterile environment, Tom couldn't cut the cord, which we did know was going to happen. So they cut his cord, and they did delayed cord clamping for about a minute or two. And then they cut his cord, and then they asked if I wanted skin to skin. But at this point my body was just uncontrollably shaking the whole surgery. Just the top half, which is apparently really, really normal, but I just could not get my body to stop shaking. So Tom took Bobby, literally the second he was born, cut the cord, and Tom had him in his arms, and I just knew he was safe and I knew he was fine. He let out the tiniest little cry, literally the tiniest cry ever. They all screamed about his hair. They're like, oh my god, he's got so much hair. He came flying over, cut his cord. Tom took him, popped his hat on, weighed him, put a nappy on him, got him cleaned up a little bit, while I just carried on lying there. And obviously I could see slightly behind me, but not a lot. He was right behind me, but I could hear him, just chatting to him, chatting to the midwife. They were doing such a good job together, honestly. Like, he loved it, taking so many photos. Yeah, we weren't allowed to video in the theatre room, but you were allowed to take photos. They brought him over, and at this point I still wasn't sure if I wanted skin to skin, just because I didn't feel like I was in control of my body at this point. I obviously wanted to hold him more than anything, but like my top half was just shaking so much. But the consultant was like, you'll never get this chance again, like you'll never have this experience in this theatre room with your first baby, like just do the skin to skin, we can take him straight back off you if you don't want to do it. So of course I took him. I was like, yeah, put him on me, like I will regret this, let me do it. I think I had him on for a couple of minutes, but like I said, I was shaking and it was just really hard to hold him. Like, he was like rolling down my neck and I just had no control. But I did have people around me like helping and holding on to him and supported me through that. But yeah, it was just really overwhelming, especially as I knew I was still being stitched up and stuff. Like, it was just, there was just a lot going on. And then at this point Tom took him back and just had some photos with him. I was just lying there. The surgeons were all dancing, like they were literally like, by the way, we're dancing over here, like we're having a great time, everything's going well, blah blah blah. And then they were stitching me up, and then one by one people just started leaving the room because they weren't needed anymore. They were just like clocking out. Every time I like looked up, there was less and less people in the room, and then that was it. They stitched me back up and put me onto the hospital bed, which was a very weird feeling actually, being lifted from one bed to the other. That was very strange. Oh no, we've got no memory left. Hang on guys, can't remember where I got to. I think it was that they put me onto the hospital bed. Yeah, so they put me onto the hospital bed and then wheeled me into the observation area where my mum was going to be meeting us, because I was only allowed one birthing partner in a C-section. So we just sat in there, waited for my mum. Everyone disappeared. It all went calm, it all went quiet. We had our baby in our arms and it was just bliss. Like, it was honestly insane. And then I started getting feeling back in my legs after about 4 hours of just lying there. We were FaceTiming everybody. We had Tom's family come and visit. It was just, I would literally do it all again in a heartbeat. It was amazing. The whole experience was just incredible. Like, I could not have asked for a better experience. So many people tried to talk me out of the C-section, and honestly, I know everybody has a different experience. Everybody has a different version of events of things, and from my personal experience, it was insane, and he's here and he's perfect, and it literally was just the best. Like, look at this little boy. Look at him. Like, honestly, I cannot believe he is mine. Me and Tom created him, and now he's going to be with us forever, and we're going to have the best life and best memories, and just, I just love him so much. Like, it's just been heaven. The past 11 days have been everything I could have ever dreamt for. Like, making me emotional. Like, it's literally just been so perfect. I just feel like the luckiest person in the whole world, because I see so many people like have bad experiences and struggles with things, and I just feel so lucky that like we've just had the best 11 days, haven't we? Like, from start to finish, it's just been perfect. Oh, I think I'm going to save the Q&A for my recovery, because then you guys can leave questions down below. So if you've got any questions about the C-section, or anything you want to know, or anything you're interested in, leave it down below and I will answer them in the recovery video. I just feel like I'll do that in a separate video because there's a lot to talk about, a lot to explain, and I don't want this video to be too long. I've been filming for ages already. So I will do the Q&A in that. So yeah, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer anything. So leave them down below and I will get that filmed ASAP. I'll probably film it tomorrow so that it can go up next week. But yeah, that is my birth story. That is our labour story. That is how little Bob's made his way onto this earth and into our lives. And I could not be more grateful, hey? So lucky. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. And like I said, this is just my personal experience. So obviously everybody has different experiences. I've loved every minute of it. Like I said, I feel very lucky. And it could all change in a heartbeat, don't get me wrong. But right now, we're in the biggest bubble ever and we're just having the best time. And he smells beautiful because he had his first bath this morning. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. We love you and I'll see you in our next video. Ciao.